to this very last breakfast bite on digital citizenship. I'm Elizabeth, a mother of 2 rebel girls and director of COFACE Families Europe. And I will be co-hosting this bite with Martin, new dad in lockdown. You just missed his baby right now. And he's Senior Policy and Advocacy Manager of COFACE. Martin, do you want to say a few words?
Yes, so we can't see you or hear you, but if you look at the bottom right of your screen, you have the chat feature. And as many of you have already figured out, you're using it, you're saying hi, you're saying which country you're from, your organization. That's really great, so we know who's there. And maybe actually we can launch a poll to see who's there today, who's tuning in. So Liz, I'll defer to you.
Here we go. So we have 65 people tuned in right now and more coming in. So this at least gives us an idea of the 65. Good morning, France. Bonjour. Hello, Bulgaria. And the votes coming in. We have, again, quite a mix, quite a mix. You'll see. Few more. Hey, Norway, you have sun today and we are confused. You're as confused as us Brussels people, I think.
Yeah, not having rain.
I mean,
yeah, it was really weird.
Hey, Czechia. Hello. Right, here we go. Here we go. So, BIK Youth, what do you think? Quite a mix.
Your teachers tuned in to see if you were good students.
Yeah, they said they would, but I didn't believe it.
They're here.
So, yeah, teachers, students, researchers, policymakers, think tanks, citizens, parents, ICT industry, and many European NGOs as well. Fantastic.
Great.
Right. Hello, Lithuania. Fantastic. Well, look, again, a fantastic mix, you know, representing all the different layers of digital citizenship. So welcome, everybody. That's fantastic. We kicked off this webinar series. For those of you who've been here before, you know, but for the newcomers, we kicked it off with a great introductory video address by the Executive Vice President of the European Commission, Margrethe Vestager. You can see it online on our website, on social media. Check it out. She's a great supporter of our work. And she's doing a fantastic job shaping a digital Europe that works for society. So on behalf of COFACE Families Europe, a big thank you to the Executive Vice President. So before starting, Martin, do you want to give some tips to our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So the usual, make sure you have a stable internet connection, so close to your Wi-Fi, or even just plug it in with an Ethernet cable. Make sure you have something to drink, so you don't need to go running for things to hydrate yourself. That's especially for us because we'll be talking. If you think of questions to put out to our BIK Youth panel, please use the Q&A feature, questions and answers at the bottom of the screen, not the chat, because in the questions tend to be lost in the chat. So put them in Q&A. And if you're on Twitter or Instagram, make sure that you tag us. So find us there. On Twitter, our hashtag is COFACE_EU. And with that, we can kick it off.
All set. Wonderful. Thanks, Martin. So for the last of our digital citizenship bites, we are going to listen to what young people have to say on digital citizenship. And for this debate, we have 4 BIK Youth Ambassadors who will share their thoughts. Welcome to Joanna, to João, to Lily, and to Simona. And also to Sabrina and Ire, who work very closely with the BIK Youth Ambassadors. So welcome, everybody. I think at this point, I'm going to give you the floor. Share our thoughts with you, share our thoughts with us, or share your thoughts with us, rather. I'm going to share the screen now. We have just under 75 people tuned in now. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Here we go. All set? João, would you like to take it away? Or is it Joanna?
It's me.
Okay, hey Joanna. All good?
Hi. Yeah. So I was given the task to start this, although I am the youngest.
Do you want to say a word about yourself?
Yeah, it's part of my presentation. I think it will be clear. Like, I'm probably past the PowerPoint. So my name is João, and I am a digital leader in my school in Mira, Portugal. And Digital Leaders is a national project which is developed by Student. And so pass another one. I am going to show you some photos. This is my school team, 3 digital leaders and then 2 teachers who have always been there for us. And then another one. This is a picture of some other Portuguese digital leaders we have worked together.
You call them digital leaders?
Yeah. And last but not least, the BIK Youth Ambassadors. And I use these sequence of photos to show you that we're all part of something bigger. And that keeps us going, really, because I'm not working in my school. I'm working in a school, in a country, in a global digital network. And that's really empowering. So as an ambassador or a digital leader, there are some things we have to know, we have to do. We need to keep up to date and well informed in order to be able to share our knowledge and advice. This is the obvious part. We're trying to give advice to the people we're talking to. But we also share discussion topics. We want to start debates in order to get a general understanding of the youth's opinions and suggestions. These are the things we take to places like the CIF. This is a picture of that, where there are gathered stakeholders, decision makers, and other people who take the user's voice in order to try and improve our digital experience. So yeah, I think this is the hey Joanna. So this is the background of my personal view. I think it's important because when we're talking about concepts, it's very personal, and giving my path, showing a little bit of my path will probably help you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. So yeah, what does digital citizenship mean to me? I think as all concepts, this is quite flexible and open to interpretation. If we look at the traditional concept of citizenship, we might see a list of rights and obligations, and it would sound obvious to just transfer this model into the digital world. But this is quite a hard task. Is it even possible to separate our normal world from a digital world? I don't think so, not anymore. And that makes the task even harder. I'm going to look at digital citizenship as part of our citizenship. And that being said, I think we look for, in digital environments, we look for safety, liability, enjoyment, and practicality. And those are things we also seek in other aspects of our lives. And just like in those lives, we might find different types of citizenships. And I am not going to be able to look at all the layers because I'm not an expert and I don't want to say anything that's not true. So I will look at the basic, what I think everyone should do regardless of their intent on the internet. So first, with behavior, common sense, be responsible, stay safe, and be sensible. being well informed always helps. And this is important because if you're comfortable in a digital environment and you're making everyone around you comfortable as well, everyone will have a better experience. On the other hand, it's also important to contribute to this improvement, not only in a passive way, but in an active way. This is by giving some feedback, praising positive aspects, outlining possible gaps, and ways to improve them. So besides these behavior and related advice, there will be probably some technical advice, which won't be given by me because the technical side goes a little bit out of my comfort zone. I'm going to talk about age groups. Here we're in the youth, representing the youth, showing our perspective. But I think in the building of our digital citizenship, it's important not to be split. What does this mean? We isolated the youth in this conference, but the youth isn't isolated in the digital world. And it definitely shouldn't be. No age group should be isolated on the digital world. And there comes the intergenerational exchange. And I'm going to explain what does this mean digital-wise. I'd probably say we should merge some characteristics that are typical from different age groups, which doesn't mean they are uniquely present in those age groups. I'm just going to, this disclaimer, I'm not labeling age groups, but I would say it's common to see more open-minded spirit, creativity, tact, naturality in the youth that we should merge with the sensibility, organization, and experience in older generations. This doesn't mean it's unique, again, but the cooperation among different age groups and the exchange to learn with each other rather than just proceeding sequentially. I think there's where growth comes from taking a number that is age out of a person and looking at everything they can give, either good or bad, because some problems might also help us learn. This would help us build a good digital citizenship. And when I say good digital citizenship, I mean a place where we belong, a state where we belong online, where we can effectively use digital platforms, and also where we can contribute to the improvement. So now I want to do a little bit of advertising. Probably pass the PowerPoint, please. It's going to be my recommendation, and it's an Instagram campaign sharing advice. It's called BIK for Youth. You can see it on Instagram, and it's led by the Youth Ambassadors of the 2019 CIF. It's not just advertising. It's an example of how digital citizens can actively participate and try to contribute by sharing advice and pinpointing safety measures and the youth suggestions. It's been 6 months since we started the page, and we have over 300 followers. It's growing. It's not a lot of people, but if we can help one person, it's already worth it. I will probably let my poll question fly while I rant a little. Another part of our talk should be to talk about our challenges as digital citizens and ambassadors, digital leaders. I think sometimes it's easier to, okay, it's showing.
Well, you made it quite a convincing pitch there. So I think everybody's going to say, I don't see anyone saying not crucial. So the question for those who can't read it, or for those who will follow the recording later, is how useful do you find intergenerational exchange in the development of a quality digital citizenship? So the votes are coming in, but okay, we have over 70 people right now tuned in, so give them a few seconds.
Yes, I am prepared for all results. You can vote wherever you want it. Like, if it's not unanimous, I can work with that.
Yeah, we're in a
need-
democracy. It
Yeah.
has to work. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah, that was what I was expecting. I think it's at least useful, if not essential, and that we can 100% agree. And it raises the number as we go up, so more people find it essential. That's good. I think in theory it sounds very promising, but we should put it to practice. And I give that challenge to anyone on the other side who has the opportunity, even just to chat with their teenage son, daughter, and try to do a TikTok at home. I don't know, we're in quarantine, like spend that time. And yeah, I think my time is running out. So
that's great. Thank you very much. Can we just check the age group now of who is here? Because that would be helpful to understand, yeah, how much your message is going to get through to the older generations as well. The votes are coming in. Okay, and if I see a 96 plus, wow. Coming in, streaming in. There we go. So can you all see that? That's quite a diverse age group. So you're being listened to for sure. I think your message is definitely getting across. Thank you, Joanna. Who's next? That was, I think we'll collect all the different testimonies and thoughts, and then have a big debate after. Yeah.
So I'll go ahead now. Hi everyone, and hope you're listening, and thank you for joining us today. So thank you for bringing my slide. I'll go ahead and show you my version of digital citizenship. And I hope you're not surprised by not seeing me interacting with a bunch of digital devices. For those of you who see it as a little bit of my Hall of Fame, you're right, because I had this interesting exercise of trying to put nice, simple words into what I think it is digital citizenship. And for me, it really is about having my say in the digital spaces I belong. So to jump into the topic, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and how I created this idea. I'm a youth advocate of online safety since I was 13 years old. And by now, you can also guess that I'm the older of the youth speaking here today, because 10 years have gone by, and I've actually been to awareness sessions with more than 50,000 young people. And I'm really confident that I also reached many more, I can say, indirectly through other educational resources that I contributed. And I can say that I'm pretty proud of these achievements, because as you can see from the title of my slide, I'm finishing up university. I've been to school before, and I had to attend classes, and somehow I can say that this rest of the day life it has influenced me a lot of my day life, which is now writing my master thesis. So I'm also lucky because I had the privilege to join many youth programs, and Those are the ones you're seeing a little bit on the screen right now. And I feel I had the opportunity to be at the discussion tables. And in the last 4 years, I've embraced the broader internet governance ecosystem as I'm studying computer engineering. And I got a grant for research in artificial intelligence. That's actually the topic of my master thesis. So I'm researching on AI ethics. So I'm always eager to join these discussions when it comes to either a technology in the more pure perspective of AI, but also in the digital challenges that online safety and digital literacy involve. So I've asked Liz to bring up my question so that I could quickly assess a little bit of what I'm going to speak about.
So here we go. Since the beginning of, yeah.
Yep, I'll go
just
ahead.
read it out. Do you want, or do you want to read it out?
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah. So my question is, since the beginning of this year, 2020, how many quotes from young people, and this could be giving their experience, providing relevant information about a challenge they faced, or even providing their expertise, have you brought up into relevant work within your institution or organization?
Great question. Just like Lily's, just like Joanna's as well. So the votes are coming in. We have above 80 people tuned in right now. So give them a few seconds to look at the question, express themselves. Yeah, while they're voting, I really like to comment, Joanna, on the separation of the online and offline worlds. Is that even still valid today? Lots to think about. Okay, a few more votes and then we'll see the results. Da, da, da.
Well, I'm not biased by the results. I couldn't be, but it's very interesting to see that we still perhaps not being we are not considering sometimes the youth perspective of things, and that actually brings me to my broader topic that I wanted to address, because and you can bring up the next slide, please. We were thinking of, or we are discussing here, digital citizenship, and for me is having my say in the digital space I belong. So as Martin mentioned on his presentation in the first Bytes breakfast on the Monday from last week, we have these different layers of digital citizenship, and I'm not going to address either access or the importance of digital literacy skills like technical media or information. No, I focused on something that he mentioned and he had on the slide, because if we're looking into a democratic digital citizenship, I think the challenge will be to avoid, and I'll begin quote, keep talking, no one cares, end quote. And that's really the challenge here, because otherwise I think younger generations will get less interested and more prone to follow either radical speakers or perspectives, and they ended up not being reflecting on things that matter. And if we think about it, perhaps it's not already a challenge, but perhaps already a problem. So my question was really to assess a little bit about the youth representation, if it is being done right, and how can we make it more clear to the other stakeholders. And I brought this slide because I see youth representation split a little bit in different perspectives. I tried to make it a pyramid, but I'll explain it as the inverse of this pyramid. So you have several examples of participation, less from engagement, and even less, and one example of awareness. But you'll end up perhaps realizing that we have the scales a little bit inverted, because we don't want everybody participating, and I'll explain that a little bit. We want to start in awareness. And what is awareness? Awareness is a place where we get to go to young people, explain them, talk to them about a specific problem. And while we do that, we try to realize and understand their challenges, their difficulties. And that's already a way of representing youth, because if you collect those difficulties and those challenges, you can bring it up to stakeholders that are able to fix those problems. But then you have this interesting middle step, which I call engagement, because it's where you activate one of the youth that you addressed and try to make that youth a leader within the community. And that's why it was so important, João testimony about the idea of creating these digital leaders among the community they belong, because they have this message, and at this step of engagement, they have a proactive approach, which means that they are they are answering to a call to action. And that's the difference here, because between engagement and participation. Participation, it's the last step of what I think to be youth representation. It's where ideas, movements, and initiatives are brought up from youth, and trying to have their voice within the broader community. And I provide here several examples of youth programs that allow this participation. Because you can also see that, well, you have this passive, proactive, active approach, but you can also see it as with the difference they represent, because you have the top-down approach would be that a bunch of experts identified several issues from young people, and they produce these materials that help them and that can contribute to a better online environment. But also what's really interesting to see is that we are already building a bottom-up approach, which means that we already got to youth. Youth are already getting involved by themselves, and this is very interesting. And I think it's great to see up to a point that digital citizenship has really enabled youth to be part of something and contributing in the way they can. So my recommendation here would be to perhaps reflect on what was mentioned, and we definitely want more young people on the process. And I don't mean that we need to bring every youth to the table, and I think gladly not every young people want to be at that table. But I think we need to offer a value proposition to those who are joining these discussions. And this could either be by a personal feeling of achievement, and I tried to focus that on my previous slide, where we get to see it and to get to know a lot of other young people motivated and very interesting to get a community worldwide. But also, I think it's really important to think about a platform that truly represents youth as a whole. And this can be either done through the youth programs that I mentioned, but also I couldn't forget to give the perfect example of what Better Internet for Kids is bringing up, because we are really the messengers, trying to represent our own visions, but also with the sense that we need to address everything that we heard when we go to schools and speak to young people, and the ideas that we exchange constantly and try to improve the internet as a whole. So I think that would be my 2 cents on digital citizenship. Thank you everyone, and I'll give the floor to Lily maybe.
Thank you for your wonderful 2 cents. Really useful, as well as Joanna's 2 cents. Lily, do you want to share your thoughts?
Good morning, everyone. I'm just waiting on my slide. Yeah. So, hi, this is me. I'm Lily. I'm 21 years old, and I'm from Vienna in Austria. And I'll just start and introduce myself. So in 2015, I was participating at a radio discussion here in Vienna, and Barbara, who's one of the youth coordinators here in Vienna, she attended and came up to me and asked, "Hey, Lily, do you want to join the youth program of the Austrian Safer Internet Center?" And I said yes. But to be honest, I was really scared. I was freaking out because that was the first time I came into this kind of experience, and had the fear that I could just not talk about anything that she wanted to talk to me about, because I just had no idea about internet security or other things. But I went there. Everything was fine. I loved it. And after a time, she asked if I want to join the BIK Youth program in Luxembourg. And that was in 2015. And the BIK Youth program is the pre-event for Safer Internet Forum, which takes place every year. That's one of the pictures you saw at Joanna's slide. And here on the third picture, that's me on my first Safer Internet Forum. And yeah, so since then I kept on being engaged in the field of internet security and internet governance, and I just really loved it. It just kind of became a part of me. And then I finished school in 2 years ago, so 2018, and started studying and started working at the Safe Internet Center here in Austria. And I'm now one of the youth coordinators there, and I really, really love it, because it's kind of a dream job, because I can now realize the wishes and dreams I had as one of the youth ambassadors there. And now I can really realize it and do it, and enable other young people to have this experience. So yeah, this is me. And now we'll get into the topic. So I asked myself the question, are we digital citizens? And I say, hell yes, we are. Because you just have to know, even before like the first sun shining at our face, we look at our smartphone. We check everything. We check WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat. I even check my mails, which is kind of old school, but I still do it. And yeah, why do we do it? Because we just have the feeling that we're missing something. There's this voice in our head saying, Lily, you slept for 8 hours, but the world has been spinning on. You kind of have to run and catch up in order to be good enough to be part of this world. And that's what we do. So this not being good enough is something I will talk about for the next couple minutes. So before I start, I have the question. Liz, could you put it up?
So,
yeah, so simple question. Have you ever caught yourself getting annoyed by not only, but also young people who stare at their smartphone all the time? And be honest, because I would vote for yes.
we're getting full honesty here.
Great.
A few more votes. Okay, here we go. Drum roll. Here we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's a big yes.
That's what I was expecting. Okay. So you're honest here. Great. And so I'll come back to this in a few minutes. And so when I asked myself the question, are we digital citizens? I was thinking of rather asking myself the question, is it even possible that we are not, if we have the chance to not be a digital citizen? And that's when I need my next slide. So basically, we are all happy with ourselves. I kind of like of who I became in my 21 years of life. But still, we sometimes have the feeling that we're not good enough, and that is because of the internet. The internet tells us, hey, there's something going wrong. You're too unproductive, too unhealthy, too lazy, too stupid, too fat, too whatever. It's just a never-ending list. And the thing is, the internet doesn't tell us that we're too on. It tells us that there are tons of people that are way better than us, that put their lives together perfectly, and they just work it out. So what's the problem with you, Lily? How can you not be that perfect, that optimal as the other people out there in the internet? So here in my slide, you can see the optimal morning routine of the optimal Lily, which is of course not me, but let's just think about it. And that's according, of course, to Instagram. So you get up at 5 a.m., then meditate, drink tea, do yoga, read the newspaper, but only on paper, please, because, you know, we gotta stay off our phone. And we write a to-do list and all that, please, before breakfast, of course. At 8 a.m., we're supposed to sit ultra productively at school, do all the work there, come home, do all homework right away, do another round of sports because we just can never get enough, eat lunch, but only a salad because we've got to think of the calories. And then in the evening, we're supposed to take an ultra long bath and take care of ourselves and go to sleep peacefully. So I know I love that morning routine as well, because I ask myself the question, when do I get to use the toilet then? So yeah, you see on that example, the standards on us are getting higher and higher. And the problem is that it's not only online, it's also offline, because still there are people that are telling us, hey, something's going wrong with you. You're always on your phone. You're addicted. That's not healthy. You know, you got to get outside and do your socializing there. But still, at the same time, we're supposed to be the next generation, super informed, super qualified with all digital media and everything. And at the same time, we got to keep our image on Instagram up, you know, and that's kind of a lot we have to think about here. And that's just the fear of not being good enough. And that fear of not being good enough is what drives the economy today, because the internet is making money out of our concerns. And our consumption is based on promises of the internet bringing a super balance into our life through meditation programs, whatever shakes or fitness or whatever. You know, this is what drives it. And the shake the influencer advertises to me, that is supposed to make me super happy and trained as she is, of course. Yeah. So that's the thing. And how can we not be digital citizens? How can you not be? Because even if it's not being sporty or being healthy, it's something else you would like to optimize. And the internet is giving the solution to you. So what is the thing I'm talking about? We pay with our data all the time. So every day we tell the internet how optimal we want to be, because we look at influencers, we look at websites that show us, you know, your life could be better than it is now. And the internet gives us, for example, the program 30 Days to Happiness. So I buy it. And after these 30 days, I kind of see, hey, I'm getting back to my usual habits. And I'm not happy about it. That's bad. The program didn't work, you know, because you got to think of that. Doing yoga cannot be a habit. It's a hobby. So I cannot do it to make it a habit for me to stand up at 5 a.m. and do it. In order to make it at 5 a.m., I have to like it, and that's a hobby. And I can just not force myself into a hobby just to be perfect as the influencer in the internet. And then after these 30 days, we come back to our usual habits, are not happy, and pay even more data to the internet in order to get us another solution we will try. And that's the never-ending circle I am talking about. So the problem I am addressing here is that none of the smart people out there that stay away from the internet helps us with it. So we need to educate young people about it. We need a good balance. But this is the thing, we're not balanced, because one side is telling us to get off the internet and the other one tells us to improve our skills with digital media. And nobody makes us feel good enough as we are, that we are just trying to keep up with online world, but also with our offline world. So we are just trying with all our strength to be the optimal person, and every time we try, we fail. And so what is the problem I'm addressing here? What do we need? We need things like digital literacy, which can be never enough right now, as we see with COVID as well. We need freedom of self-realization and a world that is not interested of making profit based on our concerns. And this is, of course, our task of the future. So we cannot expect from you to make it all happen. But what we expect from you, and that's what João said as well, we need you to enable us to give us the stage for it. We need to talk about it now in order to make it when we have to say on something in future. And that's what we are expecting here, and that's why we all, Joanna, João, Simona, and me, we're participating in these projects, because we just use the power the world is giving us. But to be honest, it's still not enough. But yeah, so I don't know if I spoke 10 minutes, but that's kind of all I had to say.
That was enlightening.
Thank you.
In many, many ways. And you can see in the chat as well, the comments on all of your different thoughts are really, really appreciated. So thank you, Lily. I've taken loads of notes from the first 3 BIK Youth Ambassadors. So I think now we'll give the floor to Simona, our final Youth Ambassador. Simona, it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Simona. I am 18 years old girl from Bulgaria. I'm a youth panelist. I participated in the youth panel, in the BIK Youth panel in 2019, but I'm still a youth panelist in my organization here in Bulgaria. I will talk about it later. I'm an active volunteer everywhere. When I just read an article like "we search people for," and I'm like, yeah, I will come. I'm full of energy and creative writer. So that's enough about me. Let's talk about my BIK Youth experience. So you see a lot of pictures. We did a really great job, I think, because we made a campaign that is with the hashtag #MyDigitalSelfAndI, and you can view our video in YouTube. So in 2018, I was a participant in BIK Youth panel. I was in Brussels, Belgium, with other youths from all over the world. The topic of the Safer Internet Forum was the impact of technology on children, young people, and society. We split it in groups with 1-2 participants. You can see it here. That was our task. And choose different topics for a discussion. For example, fake news, that was my circle. Article 13, safety, how digital devices impact young people's lives, and etc. In each group, there were 5-6 guests from other organizations. Each group had 10 minutes to discuss, and then the people moved to a different group. Exactly like the Game World Cafe, if you know it. At the end, we made summary of all opinions we've heard during these discussions. Then we played the video we created. You see here the link. If we have enough time, probably we can play it. It's about minutes or something, but not for now. We'll just stay on the slide. So I just saw the question in the Q&A. Someone wrote, if the BIK ambassadors could do one thing to improve their online experience as digital citizens, what would they do? Personally, I would continue to be part of my organization. I can't be part anymore because it's for youth till 18 years old, so unfortunately I should leave. But I will tell you now a little bit about my organization in Bulgaria and why it's so important to me. My organization is called Youth Panel, and it's connected to the Safer Internet Center. Here in Sofia, the participants are usually youths from 14 till 18 years old. We develop our digital and media skills and play an important role in the initiatives and the events organized by the Bulgarian SIC, Safer Internet Center, and its partners. I participated in a lot of conferences where we discussed topics like online safety, hate speech, yeah, they're all part of fake news. Also, they're all part of this digital citizenship. Also, we provide our own campaigns. Our most new campaign is You Are the Hero, promoting positive behavior and countering hate speech and cyberbullying, as well as our previous successful online campaign, #DressUp. There we showed that the pictures that young people are sharing, I mean the nude ones, aren't okay. We also organize and participate in activities for annual Safer Internet Day celebration, the annual Youth Forum, Voice It, the annual meeting of youth parliaments, representatives in Gorna Orjahovica, and European Safer Internet Forum organized by InSafe and InHope. We get acquainted in depth with the opportunities and risks in digital environment because we face it every day. Develop our strengths and talents, and for more information, of course, I will be very thankful if you visit our website, safenet.bg. We have also an Instagram page. So I participate in this organization since 2 years, and it's given me a lot things. Yeah, I improved myself a lot. I learned a lot of things about the digital environment, and the thing I would like to talk now is what digital citizenship means for me, and how I will connect it with other important topic, and it's actually the cyberbullying. So please, can you show my questions before I start? So, do you think cyberbullying is a serious problem? Probably most of you would say yes, or only for some people, example, kids. But let's see and discuss it together.
The votes are coming in. A few more seconds. There's more than 80 people tuned in right now. A few more. Okay, here we go.
Okay, yeah, that's really that's really good answer. Oh, nobody. Oh, okay. So we all agree that cyberbullying is a serious problem. Yeah, so first let me explain what digital citizenship means for me, so we can connect the two topics. For me, that is the ability to think before you post something or tag someone on a photo. Digital citizenship is about caring for others, respect their privacy and respect them as humans, and also their human rights in the online environment. The social medias are really powerful thing. Like you can have the affection on someone just by posting a simple sentence. You can make their day better, or you can make their day worse. It's a really powerful weapon to embarrass someone, but they can be used as a tool to spread positivity and respect. We are all digital citizens, And all the time we should ask ourselves before we post something, would I say this to this person if you were face to face? Or who could I affect by posting this? And after finding the answer, after like counting to 10 before, like, it's like this. Probably you've heard about count to 5 or 10 before you say something in the real life. It's the same count to 10 before you post something. It has the same affection. The difference is you just don't see the other person right now. And after finding the answer of these questions, we will realize how much a single post can affect someone's life. And we will start thinking more critical. We will become responsible digital citizens. So we all heard about cyberbullying. And most people know that it happens between kids and teenagers because they are young, they don't think what they do or speak. But I saw a lot of young people that actually have critical thinking, that actually rethink before they post or say something. So I think that cyberbullying doesn't it's not a thing that happens only between the kids, yeah, most of all, but like between the older ones, it's not so visible. Yeah. So practicing good digital citizenship is an integral part of preventing cyberbullying. I think if we all have critical thinking and think before we post or tag someone, it's not so hard to ask them, like, can I post this photo? Are you okay with it? It shouldn't be so harmful. And that will make us more, sorry, I forgot my words. It will make us really responsible digital citizens. So my recommendations are 4. First of all, treat the others in the way you want them to treat you. It's like the thing we all know, but how many of us actually do this? The second one is help the victims of the cyberbullying. Like you can tell a phone or an organization that they can trust and turn to when they have a problem. It's a simple act, but it means a lot for the victim. He or she feels that that he or she is supported, actually. The third one is think before you post anything, a picture, a news also, yeah, fake news are also a problem. Think about it. And the fourth one is there's always another way to communicate, to behave, and to be. Thank you. That was all from me. I remind, if you're from Bulgaria, because I saw some people are from Bulgaria, if you have a problem like with the hate speech or cyberbullying, or someone of your friend has, you can call 124-123. That is our anonymous free hotline that you can speak with psychologists so they can help you. And also, again, follow our Instagram page, SafeNetBG. We will be very thankful. Thanks and have a nice day.
Wow, thank you very much, Simona, and all the BIK Youth Ambassadors. Lots and lots of interesting ideas, reflections, recommendations. I think you're giving the listeners lots of food for thought. So we have already a first question in the Q&A, which I'm going to put to each of you. And then I believe Martin wants to ask you some questions. And of course, you can comment on each other's presentations, you know. So let's start with the first question from June that you already addressed, Simona, but I'll read it again. if the BIK Youth Ambassadors could do one thing each to improve their online experience as digital citizens, what would they do? I leave it to any of you.
I started last time, so I think it's only fair you start right now.
João, Lily, any thoughts?
Go.
Okay, Lily, yeah?
I think it's a question you cannot answer right away, because I think we want to do a lot, but we know that most of it is not realistic at this time maybe. So one example, what I did to make the experience better is I programmed for my final project in school. I programmed a game about cyberbullying, and it is a role game. So you as the player are the victim in the game. So, and you can choose, so you get messages on your phone and you choose whatever option you want to answer. And it depends on your answer you choose, the chat will change, but still it's a situation that is similar to cyberbullying, because all of the text messages, they are from Austrian students. I asked them to write some very harsh things that I can put into the game. So it's not a nice game, but it's a game that I was planning to so I was planning that the teachers could use it to address cyberbullying in schools, because I think that the topic is not really talked about a lot, and it's just not enough. And that's why I think, and the topic is really, it's a heavy topic, so the game was supposed to be an entrance into the topic, so that the teacher doesn't like have a hard beginning to talking to the students. So that was what I did. And unfortunately, the sponsor I got didn't want to sponsor it anymore, but that's the kind of things we can do, but it's still in your hands, the people who have a say on something, to realize whatever we are trying to do. That's my answer, I guess.
That's great. The idea of using video games as well, apps to get messages across, is a great one. I think in your own presentation you also mentioned things like digital literacy. You can never have enough. You asked about enabling youth to have a platform, stage to express themselves. So I think, June, in answer to your question, there are many things potentially, I think, and the recommendations came out as well from Simona about the importance of engaging via NGOs or youth organizations like the one that she was in and is in today. João, Joanna, do you want to say anything?
Yep.
Yep.
I'll go into a more practical and more direct answer. Because I think that anything everyone can do, and more than BIK Youth Ambassadors, I think everyone has the responsibility to do it, is speak out when you're asked to, but also speak out when no one asks you. And this is a little bit tricky, because my idea, or my approach to digital citizenship is having our say, and sometimes it's difficult to be asked about our sayings, and that was actually part of my question, because and if someone asks, it's good, we are there and we can answer, but sometimes even if they ask, we are not seeing some proactive engagement or used to the questions that have been asked to us. So that is the broader perspective. But in terms of personal speaking, I would say that getting surrounded by people we know, people we care, can pretty much improve our online experience. And these can be people we know from our community that we know and we hang out every day, but it can also be a broader community. And I think my slide was actually one of that ideas that I tried to convey. So I get to hang out with people from around the world in sharing the same opportunities, the same motivation. And that's pretty much a thing that we all want in our digital space. So I think when it comes to being a digital citizenship, it's really about the choices we make, what we speak out. And I know Martin had some curious understanding of what speaking out meant when it comes to terms and conditions. I know I also had some thoughts on that but it's still better if you speak out and you don't agree, but you ended up also have to use the product. So it was worse if we didn't say anything. So that would be my idea.
Thanks, João. Plenty of food for thought there. Joanna, do you want to say something?
I mean, after this, I said I didn't want to be the first, but now I don't know if it was a smart choice.
A lot has been said, you're right.
I think, yeah, I agree with Lily when she says this question is a little tricky when we think, is it what we wanted to do or what we can realistically do? I think a lot has been said on active and proactive measures, but being the internet a place where created by us, the digital environments and platforms, the content produced is a lot by us. I think having certain concerns on our daily use of the platforms is key to the comfort and enjoyment of other people in the same platforms, which means thinking twice, as Simona said, before posting, or staying safe ourselves can help other people stay safe too.
Thanks, Joanna. Yeah, and there are comments in the chat, of course, plenty of different comments. So I invite you to look through, and I realize we have more than 80 people listening in because, for instance, we have 7 people listening in through one computer. Ciao tutti. To Sarah.
Lily, do you wanted to jump in?
I wanted just to add on something. I think what my thought that we maybe want to do something, but it's not realistic. That's one point. But I think it just came to my mind when João spoke about it. I think it's just really the little things we can do. If we treat each other good and like respectfully offline, why can we not do it online? And it's not only about hate speech, it's also about sharing fake news or anything, because in real life, before you like take something and actually show it to someone, you think twice. You think, okay, do I really want to stand up and go into the other room to show it? Is it really that important? And in the internet, it's just because of the little clicks we do, and that's not a big effort, we just tend to not think about our actions really, and that's a big problem. It's a problem when it comes to fake news. It's a problem when it comes to sexting. It's a problem when we come to cyberbullying. So this clicking and this it's not being an effort is an issue, I think.
Absolutely. I think you've mentioned things which are highly relevant, way beyond children and youth. I wonder, how, can we older people join these these centers, these organizations, because we have the same challenges. Look, I think Martin wants to come in on some of what you've said, and I'll come in later as well. Martin, do you want to comment?
Yeah. So I'll just
wait. The sound is not great, Martin.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
No, not great. Maybe just
still not. How about now? Is it good?
Keep talking.
Hello, can you hear me?
We'll work with it.
Okay, you can still understand what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I have a question for each of you, or a comment, reaction, and then maybe a question for all of you to just a quick one. So I'll go in order because it's easier. Joanna, you were talking about intergenerational kind of learning and all that. I just wondered if you could share an anecdote, a personal anecdote of you engaging in those kind of activities. I think that would really be enriching to have like a practical example of how you interacted with elderly people or with your own grandparents. So if you could share, I think that would be really nice.
So I didn't mention this intergenerational exchange with no reason. Like, I had my good experiences. As I said, I am the youngest, and I only started like engaging in digital leaders projects 2 years ago. And last year we had different sessions with different age groups. The first was with children, like our colleagues, then with parents and teachers, and the last one was in I don't know if it's a university for older people, senior university. I don't know if that is how you would translate it. And surprisingly for us, it was the most rewarding one. I guess it's because they're eager to learn what we're saying. When we talk to younger people and even parents, we feel like they know a lot of what we are saying. And when we talk to other people, they looked at us with curiosity and with the feeling of being taught something new. And they were open, although we were younger. They weren't afraid of sounding ignorant, I would say. They weren't afraid to make the questions. And that was like really surprising and rewarding. And when we ended the session, they asked if we could go there like monthly. And that's something we don't hear from younger people. We hear, oh, we were better in class or something like that. And they really enjoyed us being there.
That's great. Thanks a lot for sharing. Yeah, I thought that you must have some personal on-hand experience with this. So now a question for João. So, well, it's nice that my quote, the quote from Coluche, the comedian, stick with you. Democracy is keep talking, no one cares. In line with your presentation, do you have experience with like positive governance models for collective decision-making online? Because obviously online it can really turn into a shitstorm, you know, when you're trying to make decisions and everybody's going in all directions. So do you have an experience with online communities or forums where, or some kind of mechanism or governance model for making collective decisions that really works? And harnessing the expertise you have on AI, do you think technology, how could technology help in this regard to facilitate new governance models or new decision-making models online?
I'm just afraid to answer that last question and create a lot of, but yes, I'll go ahead. And actually my slide on that was actually from initiatives that I contributed for. And on the right side, when it comes to participation, I enumerated several initiatives and kind of government structures that do precisely that. So the United Nations Internet Governance Forum is, I would say it's the perfect example of what I meant when it comes to bring everybody, every stakeholder to the table, giving them equal opportunities to speak out. I would say that it's very interesting to raise and identify problems because nowadays it's really a tool that invites everyone to speak out freely, and usually not always about the organization point of view, but also with their personal point of view. But there's also a lot of questioning right now to see and to understand if this approach is being effective or not. So I don't have a decisive answer also there, but they're definitely great. It's definitely a great ecosystem because it also promotes national, regional initiatives. So we can split up the concept globally, locally, and regional. And it's also addressing the youth participation as a whole and as a community. That's why I mentioned the youth IGF movements that are beginning to appear in each country, but also at regional level with, for example, the Youth League program. And at a global perspective, you have youth summits that happen every year to gather youth visions from around the world. And I can say that I've been part of the ecosystem on the different levels. So I've contributed locally, but also participated at Youth League with Lily. And when it comes to global perspective, there's also many organizations that come in and provide these programs for us to participate, which is great. About your second question, so it's really interesting to see that now if it's so tough to rely on someone's opinion and decision making about a subject, and it raises so much controversy. Imagine you have a machine that learns how to make decisions and learn that on its own, and it's trying to perhaps rule a decision that would impact to thousands of people. Well, you have two things here. You can say that the machine can explain to you every step of the process and the reasoning behind it, or it cannot. If it cannot, you're just trusting the machine, and if you're trusting the machine, perhaps you have to be trusting to the ones who developed the logic behind it. Well, that's a little bit tricky, okay? I don't know if personally I would be comfortable to trust a machine with so powerful decisions. But then you can also think, well, if the machine can elaborate the reasoning about it, well, that's great, we should go for it. But then we have to think about computation power, and we can see machines as little versions of our brain. But instead of doing ultra fast processing, they do even faster, and that's why they might come up with a reason that you take several years to understand. So that's not the answer as well. So my master thesis is actually on trying to verify some of the reasoning behind a machine. I'm actually working not for decision making when it comes to government, but when it comes to healthcare, which is also a relevant perspective. And the idea here is try to identify when the machine is not sure enough, and we need to perhaps bring a human to verify and to validate the answer. So that would be my answer, hybrid approach for sure, because we can be very biased, and sometimes you're not making the right decisions, and perhaps the machine can alert us to that bias, but definitely not change one for the other, perhaps work together.
Liz, you're muted.
Yeah, thanks, João. We have two questions in the chat here, so I think we'll take them. So let's go and see what they are. So we have one question. This is it. What role, if any, do the panelists think platforms have in enabling positive youth digital citizenship? Now, to the person who asked that question, do you mean social media platforms or platforms in general? I don't know if that person can tell us in the chat.
Probably social media, I guess.
Probably social media platforms, yeah.
Most exchanges happen, I guess. But
yeah. Any thoughts on that to BIK Youth Ambassadors, but also to Sabrina and Ire, of course? Someone want to come in?
I can say something.
Sure, Lily, go for it.
So if the question is about social media, I think it is very important, and it's one, like, let's take Instagram for an example. I think it's a good way to have a positive impact, but it's not that easy to build it up. As we see, Joanna and the BIK Youth Ambassadors from 2019, they they did it. They have over 300 people following, and they're getting more and more every day. But it's not easy because it's very hard, I would say, as a single person to keep up with influencers that have around 1 million people following them. And the feeling I have is that when we participate in these projects and in these organizations, we're getting the platform to say something. That's of course the good part about it, but we also need people our age to think that it's cool what we do. And that's a hard thing, because when I was in school and telling my friends, oh hey, I'm flying to Brussels to be part of Safer Internet forum, they were like, oh okay, well, a free flight, but what's the point of that? It's only work. And for me, it's not work. For me, it's cool and I love it and it's fun, and it's just for me, it's not work at all. And many young people don't understand that we're really getting a voice. And the options so the thing I would wish for myself is that for example, BIK Youth Ambassadors start to be influencers in their own way, so in their own environment, and influence their friends to be part of these things too. And that's what we can do with social media platforms. But to build it really up and be as good as influencing, as good in influencing as real influencers, that's really hard. And that's like one job on one side. So yeah, it's not impossible, but it's hard.
Thanks. Does anyone else want to come in on that question, on the role of social media platforms?
Yeah, I would like to add something real quick. Yeah, I was like thinking the whole time while Lily spoke that we can all be and are actually influencers. Wherever we write or post, we affect someone's life. We affect someone's life. And the influencers aren't just the people that make videos in YouTube and post them or take challenges, or we all have personal challenges that we try to avoid or try to actually find a solution for them. The social medias are, as I said in my presentation, really powerful thing. So if we all have this critical thinking, and if we are all responsible digital citizens, we can use in the right way these social medias to influence the other people. And it will begin with small steps, like probably if you post a positive quote of the day, for example, as their story in social medias. But with the time, the people will see that you have a voice. Actually, yeah, there are a lot of people in social medias, but you matter. Every one of us matter, because we can change something, well, with just a sentence.
Thank you for those wise words. We have a last question I want to take here from Nuria. I'm going to read it out, okay? Based on your experience, do you think that online spaces can allow interactions with people from a different background whom we would not meet so easily in real life, such as refugees or Roma people, for example? Any thoughts there to the BIK Youth Ambassadors, or indeed Sabrina and Ire?
I'm going to say the non-obvious one, because I think some other interesting examples might come from the other ambassadors. I don't have anything like really shocking out of what I'm going to tell. Like the internet platforms directly, I'm going to escape that side of the question. And I'm going to say that the BIK Youth experience enabled me to meet some people I never expected to get to meet. So being in Brussels, participating in the Safer Internet Forum brought me a group of friends from a lot of different countries. And now we develop content together. Now we run an Instagram campaign. We share our initiatives in our countries. And that's empowering. That's rewarding. That's where we grow from different backgrounds. And it's not a direct contribution of a specific online platform, but it's either the gathering of all platforms and the discussion of their running, their problems, their advantages. And yeah, that's my example.
Thanks, Joanna. Yeah, João, come in on that.
Well, I was just reflecting that I think this meeting is a great example of this. We were supposed to hang out in Zagreb and meet each other, but actually I think that we ended up reaching out to many people that perhaps wouldn't be able to join if this was a on-site meeting. Of course, we lose the coffee breaks and the chance to hang out and as Lily said, have a little bit of a great time together. But I think that we've been learning in this internet governance ecosystem that virtual meetings actually are reaching out to people that we didn't thought that might be interested in participate. And of course, we have several challenges with that because even with access to the internet is not as wide as we wanted. But still, I think it's a great example that we should already take as a lesson moving forward, organizing events. Because I think that to connect with someone, you need those verbal and speech tips that we give when we speak face to face. Of course, it doesn't substitute the real life experience or in-person experience. But to convey the message, to speak out, I think it's a great example of what we can do to get more people discussing and exchanging ideas.
Thank you, João. Lily, yes, you want to come in? And then we're going to have two last questions from Martin. We might run over a little bit, guys. I hope that's okay. Go for it.
I just want to tell you one experience from my work here in Vienna. So we have our youth panel, and our youth panel is very diverse, very, very diverse. And the thing is, we reach the people we may think of. We cannot reach that easily, but we reach them. But we only reach them because we don't distinguish between one group and another. Because the moment we address the topic of being diverse, and we want them to speak for other people that maybe not speak German as good, the moment we asked, they were shy. They didn't want to talk to us about, because we distinguished them. So that's only my experience. I don't know how it's in other organizations, but I think the internet and these kind of things like online meeting, as João said, is perfect for just reaching out to people that may not have the option to fly to Zagreb or whatever. But it's not the right thing to distinguish them from the people who are used to attending these events in person.
Thanks. Thank you for that. Martin, do you want to wrap up with some questions, last questions?
Yeah. Just because I wanted to do one each, but maybe just a very quick one from Sarah here, that asking if her students can contact the panelists to help with their own organization and collaboration. I'm sure that you're okay with that, right? I mean, through BIK Youth, Lily's already putting her thumbs up, so that's done. So just a question to Lily, because your intervention really struck a chord, because yesterday we were discussing business models. I think that is one of the great strengths of capitalism, is that you can give it anything and it will turn it into a commercial opportunity. And the most striking example is the T-shirt with Che Guevara printed on it. You know, Che Guevara being a big fighter of capitalism, and obviously it's been turned into something commercial. And we're talking about meditation, yoga. These are practices that are free, that you can go into a Buddhist temple and practice for free, and yet, you know, there is this commercial overlay. And so I'm wondering if your presentation was basically that everything's being commercialized and pushed onto you. If you know that we're coming to this kind of realization that the outside world, be it the digital or the or not, cannot tell you who you are and what you like. And I think this is a question that everybody's kind of confronted to daily: is who are they? What do they really need? What do they really want? And those are very deep questions that are not so easily answered. And maybe actually meditation is one of those good practices, because you're actually trying to look within for answers and not without. So you're talking about sports, for instance. Well, maybe it's not the internet that should tell you whether you should do sports or not, but maybe it's your own body. Like if you start having aches here or you start having pains there, that's an internal signal of your body saying, Lily, maybe it's time that you go for, you know, a run or something. But it's not an algorithm on the outside, or it's not an outside kind of force. So I don't know if you have anything to say to this kind of.
I thought about that too. I mean, meditation is just one thing we can take for an example, but what I'm saying is self-optimization is not a bad thing, it's a good thing, but we tend to have the feeling that we only can optimize us once in our life, and we have to stay this perfect for the whole life. But that's just not possible, because our circumstances in our environment, they change every day. So we have to optimize ourselves all the time, and not only once, and staying this perfect. And what I think is that meditation, for example, a couple of years ago, it was uninteresting to many people, but now that one or two influencers started the trend of doing this, and starting the trend of finding ourselves and just finding who we really are, this trend it went all over the world, and now yoga pants and everything is great and super as well. But maybe that's just not the way for everyone to find yourself. You know, it's you can find your own way.
Many paths. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think
just
trending up concerns is really dangerous to a lot of people.
Definitely. We should not sort of loathe ourselves. That's not how we're going to advance. So maybe one last question to Simona and João. If you need to leave, just don't worry. I mean, you can go. So thanks a lot, by the way, for your really insightful input. So for Simona, I mean, going back to my younger years, I can say that I did and said many stupid things. I mean, everybody has those kind of memories. But that was sort of a normal part of growing up back then. And since there was no smartphones or digital trails in the days, those mistakes didn't really stick with me or define me. And I could easily move on to grow past my mistakes. In your experience, how do young people nowadays deal with this digital trail, which documents all of their mistakes and sort of rubs their face in it? Isn't that something that prevents them from actually growing and maturing? We're talking about cyberbullying and all those mistakes that you can do online.
Famous digital footprint, yeah.
Thanks for the questions. Actually, the most important thing I should say is actually that the bullying in school and on the streets, I mean, in the real life, is as much as effective, like in a bad way, as cyberbullying. But cyberbullying is more underrated by the parents. They say, my kid, they say like, okay, let's have an example. We have a boy or a girl that is harassed by someone. He or she wrote her some bad comments under the photo or something. And when the kid wants to speak with his or her parent, the kid just want to share the problem and ask for a solution if the parent has some. But the parents are just like, oh, just ignore them, you can delete them, it's not a big deal. But actually for the kid it is a big deal. It has very big impact. You don't know what is going on inside of a kid's head. Like I agree that it's a part of the growing. We were all bullied in school in some way, but like this is an important issue that we should solve and turn our attention to it. So my advice is for the parents: speak with your children. If you see that your children is becoming more, how to say it, it doesn't want to talk, it just ignores you, or it doesn't want to leave out of the house to meet with friends or so, there are a lot of signs that you can see when there is a problem, when your children are bullied or something. But it is important to say that you can make something. In the real life, you can go to talk to the director or the teachers or the psychologist to help your kids to solve this problem with the cyberbullying, and to go further, like to move on, to don't think about it. But in digital environment, you don't see these problems so obvious. In most of the cases, the kid just doesn't want to talk about it because it thinks that you won't understand, but try to understand. Like it is as much as important as this bullying in school. Yeah, I think I answered sort of the question.
These are great answers, by the way. He's put you on the spot. He did not give you these questions before. Huh? So I think I just have to say a big thank you to all, because our time is up. You've given us so much food for thought. And of course, we saw the comment from Nigeria, Africa. Digital inclusion, of course, is perfectly part of our agenda, safer internet agenda, inclusive values. And that's also why we're tackling digital citizenship. So me personally, you blew my mind. I have to say you're an inspiration. BIK Youth, continue doing what you're doing. I think you're going to have many more followers now after this. And I can say that you've given me plenty of tips personally as a mother of what's coming my way. So thank you very much. I think one of the things I take personally is, are you natural digital citizens? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But you're also, yeah, you're allowed not to be as well. And that kind of pressure, both offline and online, I take that away with me, to be honest. And we hear you. So I can just say a big thank you. And you see in the chat now, everybody's super happy. They're all, yeah, saying thank you to all four of you for the great wisdom you just shared with us today. So thank you to all the participants out there as well. Throughout the Breakfast Bites, you've been amazing. Thank you for the support. And all I can say is, you know, stay safe, stay in touch, and I can only hope that we can meet in person in 2021. And yeah, thank you. I'm trying not to cry here.
Thank you, guys.
Yikes, this is it. It's the end. Thank you so much. You've been fantastic. Mwah,
See the
mwah.
replay on YouTube. Bye.
See you very soon. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.